A paint drip splatters and runs, revealing a series of images. A woman playing violin, then in a bright pink costume, then in a blind skier pinning atop a mountain. The drip finally lands, revealing text in print and braille. Unsightly opinions.
Hi, welcome to Unsightly Opinions. My name's Tamara. Today I am going to be answering all of your questions about how to start a YouTube channel as a blind person. Without further ado, let's dive in. I'm going to take you through everything from start to finish when it comes to creating video content. If you have specific questions, check down below. There will be timestamps for specific topics. But first, let's start with some general tips and tricks. If you think you're going to start YouTube and make a bunch of money and it's going to be really worth it based on your time investment, that isn't the case. That is the exception, not the rule. While some people can make money on YouTube and can make decent money, that's not going to happen for a long time. When you start a channel, you have to reach 2 milestones before you can monetize your content. You have to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I can tell you the first 1,000 subscribers is really tough to get because YouTube isn't actively promoting your channel very well. The second part is you have to have over 4,000 hours within the last 12 months of active watch time, and they count that in different ways. You have to have a lot of content for people to be watching because on average, people are going to watch less than 3 minutes of every video. So can you imagine if it's only showing it to 100 people and you're only getting 3 minutes at a time? That's only a couple of hours. You need lots of content and you need to give yourself the time to reach those milestones because it's not going to be overnight. Tip number 2, and I wasn't good at this one, be okay with being terrible at filming, uploading, presenting. That takes time and practice. And it's good to go through those growing pains and understand what is and isn't working. I can't watch some of my first videos because either I'm acting, or I'm talking too slowly, or I'm not engaging, or the story is meandering. So there's a lot of work that goes into understanding the best flow and what's going to work best for what you are creating. Tip number 3, take your time to learn with every video. My first video took me over a year from filming to editing to uploading to create. And that was because the learning curve is massive. I didn't know how to edit. There were no resources on how blind people edit. I had to figure it out from scratch. I'm going to be giving you all of the information I wish I had when I started, but it's still going to take you a long time to figure out how things piece together. With every video, even now, I try and learn one new skill. Whether it's how to master audio better, how to frame something better, how to light something better, how to edit something better, how to upload and optimize it better. If I don't think I'm doing something new, better, or different, I'm not uploading the video. Tip number 4, set yourself up for success with consistency. The YouTube algorithm absolutely loves consistency, so if you miss a few weeks, if you're uploading sporadically, it doesn't understand your content, but if you can't upload twice a week because that is a ridiculous standard to meet, especially if you're working, don't hold yourself to that. 1 video every 2 weeks, 1 video a month. Just make it consistent so you know you have a goal that you're meeting. Tip number 5, start with what you have. You might need to go and pick up a $15 tripod from Amazon, but other than that, your phone is going to work just fine for your first videos. You don't need an expensive DSLR, you don't need expensive lighting, just start filming and playing around. It doesn't mean you're going to be creating the best content that you're going to be creating for the next 10 years, but the cameras on most smartphones are more than good enough for what you could do on YouTube. Your only limitation is going to be the hard drive size on your phone. Tip number 6 is more difficult for some folks who are blind or low vision than others, and that is lighting. Whether you are photosensitive, whether you have no light perception, getting good managed lighting is important. For some people, that's sitting and facing a window during the daytime. For some people, that's soft boxes. For some people, that's reflected or ambient lighting. Because what I've noticed is while I'm creating content for other blind people, a lot of sighted people see the content too, and if you want to grow your channel, less than 10% of your audience is likely going to be blind. So the more visually appealing you can make it, the better it's going to be to show more people what you have and what you're creating. Tip number 7 is upgrade as you can. I don't think it's important to spend $7,000 off the bat. There's lots of really inexpensive solutions that work well. There's $15 lighting solutions and ring lights that sit around any camera. That's a good solution. There's $10, $15 tripods. Your phone camera is going to work just fine. That's a good place to start. If you're finding that specific audio elements aren't working, you can soften the space by using blankets or pillows to help block some of that reflective sound if you're getting lots of echo. And then if you're able to upgrade to something like a lavalier mic, again, there's inexpensive options. I had been doing YouTube for over 2.5 years before I was gifted a lav for my birthday, and it made a tremendous difference in terms of the quality I was able to put out. And tip number 8 is really think about what your niche is. Is your niche disability in general? Is your niche blindness? Is your niche low vision? And then from there, is it talking about technology, one of your hobbies or skills like interior design, sewing, knitting, crochet? What is it that you're trying to create that is going to find a like-minded audience? For reference, my channel is a little bit eclectic, but I would describe it primarily as educationally based content. So we talk about independent living skills, we talk about adaptive technology, we do some reviews of technology so people know what's out there, and I like to make it a little more personal with some unsightly opinions and some vlogs thrown in. But generally, it all boils back down to I'm trying to provide educational and constructive content to help people live their lives better. Number 9 is logos and banners isn't as important immediately. People really don't care what your banner art looks like. They don't care what your thumbnail looks like. So if you can get those made, or you have somebody that can pop into Canva and help you create something for free, great. Don't spend $1 bajillion getting something made for you, whether it's your intro, your outro, your logos, your banners, that doesn't matter. That can all come, again, as you're developing your channel, as you figure out your niche, as you're getting better with your content. Now we're into the main meat of video content creation. After you have created your channel and you've put in any of the information that you need to, most of that is all accessible. You can navigate with any screen reader or magnifier. You want to think about video development. And I think about my video development in 3 or 4 phases. The first phase is content development or video ideas and planning. Then there's the actual filming of the video. Then there's the editing, which is the longest part. And then there's the uploading and responding to comments. That's generally how I structure creating content. From the planning phase, I think about what video am I going to make and how can I create really concise, good, valuable information to provide to somebody with a very clear path, with a start, middle, and end. So I have a very similar intro to every video, and I have a very similar outro to every video. It always starts with, "Hi, welcome to Unsightly Opinions, my name's Tamara." I also have an intro card that plays with some audio description. Again, that's not required at the beginning, but having that consistent sandwich helps your viewers know that this is kind of very familiar to them and comfortable. Doing a fully scripted video can be very complicated as a blind or low vision person because it's difficult to read off a teleprompter in real time like a lot of creators do. You can write full form videos out. I find that's easier for short form content, and I will present it 1 sentence or 2 sentences at a time, and then read the next section and regurgitate it back. But for longer form videos, that's a lot more complicated. So what I've often resorted to is creating point form notes so I have a very clear structure that I'm following so I don't get off topic and start meandering. It's important to have that clear defined structure so that it's easy for whoever's watching to follow along and know what to expect and know what's coming, so if they're looking for specific information, they can find it quickly. The next step is, after you've created your video, you have your ideas, you have your rough point form script, you need to set up your camera and your lighting. My recommendation is create something consistent. You will likely need sighted assistance if you are severely low vision or you're blind to do this. I try and minimize the number of variables involved in creating that space. So in my filming area, and this took a long time to develop, I have 1 light switch to turn on the lighting in my background. I have 1 switch to turn on my camera and turn on the lighting behind the camera. And I keep everything consistent. So My camera, my DSLR that I'm using for filming, is taped down to a shelf. It is cranked on there and it does not move. I had somebody set it up for me. I had a friend come in and they set up the softbox behind the camera. They aligned the camera for me and I don't touch anything. I use autofocus and I lock the focus so it doesn't change on me when I'm not aware of what's going on screen. The camera angle doesn't move. It's consistent every single video. The second piece is think about your background. If you're blind or low vision, you probably aren't going to catch most of what's in the background, but for the sighted viewers who are watching your video, it might be interesting for you to have a few things in the background that might be aesthetically pleasing or interesting. In my background, I have a bookshelf with a few knickknacks. There's a lot of blindness related things. There's a lot of books. There's some sunglasses. There's a teacup. It's just little knickknacks that are related to me, my channel, what I'm talking about, and it makes it feel more homey. Once you've got your camera set up, it's important to think about a few different things, and these may be more or less difficult for you depending on your level of remaining vision. Those are focus, exposure, your proportion on screen, framing, leveling, and what we've already talked about, the background. What I have learned is when you as the subject fill at least a third of the screen, that makes it feel personal and welcoming. You also want to be centered in the screen and level relative to your background. If you're pulling your phone in and out of a stand, you have to practice. Okay, well, I want it so that every time I pull it in, I'm lining up the outside edge of the camera with the volume down button or the volume up button. So you're keeping that consistency, and do that while you have the sighted help. My final tip is when you're in that pre-production / filming phase, start with the basics. Don't run before you can walk. I started with very basic camera angles. I tried to do some complex shoots with multiple cameras and adding things in, and it really didn't end up working out for me because I didn't understand how that was supposed to be structured. A basic talk at the camera and then add 1 or 2 things every video you put out after that. If you're doing multiple camera angles, unless they're consistent, you're also going to need sighted help for all of that filming. Now we're into the second stage, which is actually recording the video. Film everything in one take. All the ums, ers, ahs, and pauses are left in. And then I import that into Final Cut or my editing software and I edit it down from there. I find that's easier as a blind person because I'm not guessing when the start of the video happened. I only have one giant long clip that I'm working with. When you start a take, stop, and then you redo it, you cut the camera, and then you do it again until you get it right, there's a lot more inconsistency there in terms of your tone, pace, positioning. So I minimize that by doing it all in one take and then editing it down afterwards. Fast-moving videos also tend to keep people's attention better, so the faster you're talking, the faster you're presenting information. If you're engaging, if you're really passionate about something, that's going to land with your audience and they're going to watch longer. Try not to repeat yourself multiple different ways, say the same things with different words, ramble, meander. Stick to the script, stick to what you want to say it concisely, and move on. Always refer back to the notes on the script that you created as your framework and your guide for how your video is going to be structured. The next step is our third step, and that's editing. And that is absolutely 100% the most complicated part as a blind person. I don't know of many solutions for Windows, and if you are a blind or low vision creator who uses editing software on Windows, please let me know down below. I can only speak from what I am familiar with. So I use Mac, and when I started my videos, I was using iMovie, and then I graduated to Final Cut Pro. For most people, for most things that you're going to be doing, iMovie, which is included for free on every Mac, iPad, and iPhone, is going to be sufficient for what you need to do. Learn shortcuts so that you can navigate efficiently around your screen. And you may even want to take notes so you know what those shortcuts are. Final Cut is designed for efficiency, which is really great for most blind or low vision people. You probably already know a lot of shortcuts on the computer that are going to work in that setting. Copy is Command C, paste is Command V, Command E is export. There's a lot of different things that are really intuitive to make things simple. Next, you want to think about how you want to cut your video down. Is it going to be rapid cuts where you cut every last piece of silence out? Do you cut at the end of every sentence when there's a longer pause and you're checking your notes? Are you cutting every pause or cough? You have to think about that style. I typically go for a rapid form cut video, so it keeps people watching longer, but that's not the only way to edit something. So when you are actually going to try and cut pieces out, I will describe what the timeline looks like. Your timeline is where your clips go in. That's where you're putting your video, that's where you're putting your audio, that's where you're actually doing the editing. So when you get into the timeline, what you want to do is you want to think about it as like a very long piece of sellotape, masking tape, whatever you want to, it's just going on in a horizontal line forever. And what we're trying to do is cut pieces of that out. What you're going to do is you're going to cut to the left of the blemish, to the right of the blemish, take the blemish out, and then stick the two pieces of tape back together. That's essentially editing in a nutshell. So when we're playing through our video and we come across something we don't like, I will use my left and right arrow keys to navigate right until the end of what I'm saying, blade it there, so Command B, go through the pause, whatever I'm cutting out, until I start talking again into the new part that I want to keep, move it backwards so it's just before I start talking, Command B again, press the up arrow to move to the beginning of that clip, C selects it, don't ask me why the letter C, like a cat, selects it, and then I hit the delete, and then I can just continue on editing from there. Once you've got your edit finished and everything's good to go, you're going to export your video. That command, whether you're in iMovie, Final Cut, doesn't matter, it's Command E. And it's going to actually take you through the steps. In many cases, you can export directly to YouTube from both iMovie and Final Cut. I don't typically do that because I'm a video hoarder and I save every full resolution video I have ever created. So what I do is I go to the File menu, Share, Export, follow the prompts, save it to my desktop, and then I go to the YouTube app at the top right of the screen or where your user information is. You select that, go down to Creator Studio, and then if you follow along, there will be upload video, upload content. It's slightly different on the phone. That's in the bottom center. It's just the add content button. And then you follow the prompts through to do your upload. In this setting, what you're going to do is you are going to move through and fill in all the boxes and prompts that it gives you. You have your title. It's important to make your title short, quippy, and put the words that are most important to whoever is going to find your video closest to the beginning of the title. I know that sounds a little strange, but that's how the algorithm works. It doesn't read all the way through your title to figure out what you're saying. The shorter, the better. Then you have your description box. Try and make these interesting. Say a little bit about what's happening in the video. If you have other social media accounts that you want people to know about, list those down there. If you're referencing other videos, put that down there. I am going to add a more in-depth how I film, how I edit video, which was a collaboration with JC5 Productions. If you need more information about the specifics on how to film, how to edit, you can check that out from both a blind and low vision perspective there. You have to create playlists so people can find different parts of your content if they like one piece more than others. So maybe put technology in one, or lifestyle in one, or DIY in one. It doesn't matter what your playlists are, but create playlists so people can find your content, and then add tags. So those are like hashtags. They're relevant pieces to help the algorithm understand what's going on with your video. So mine might be blind, lifestyle, guide dog, white cane, accessible technology. You get the picture. And the final step is when you get comments, try and reply to as many as possible. Recognize that there are going to be a lot of people in your comment section that don't understand how you do what you do, that may not understand what it's like to be blind, may not be able to think outside of their own perspective. So long as they aren't really rude, usually I'll reply and be kind and explain, because explaining, being kind, being nice, engaging with people is how you get them to come back. In a nutshell, that is YouTube video creation. It can get a whole lot more nuanced than that, but that's the nuts and bolts of how to create a video as a blind creator. It is relatively accessible. There is absolutely room for more accessibility, both on YouTube and in video editing, but it's not impossible. It just takes a little bit of patience. If you need more information, again, check out some of the linked videos. They will be in the end card and in the description down below. As always, leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.